body doubles, skydiving without parachutes, and a zip line between planes, all on today's amazing effects. But can you guess how the effect was done before we tell you? I'm gonna show you a clip. You have to guess how they did the effect with the resources they had at that time.
Yes.
I'm ready to have my heart broken again.
And then I give kisses, kiss, 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 and press play.
Yes.
I love Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford Explorer.
Wow.
Good God.
That is gnarly, wow.
That one's hard.
It feels like a combination of things per usual. Real coverage, and then some scale stuff with miniatures. It feels like when that stunt guy hits the wall of the mountain, that feels like a dummy. And then of course, when they're over the hanging bridge, that's now like a ladder. There's some, for the lack of a better word, like green screen.
My guess would be that it's a mixture of things. Partly actually doing it, using dummies, and maybe a little bit of compositing.
This rope bridge fight from Temple of Doom may look like one continuous sequence, but it was actually filmed across 3 different continents. For the wide shots of the bridge and the majority of the sequence, they built an actual 90-meter suspension bridge over a 300-foot deep gorge near the Victorian Dam in Sri Lanka. British engineers built the bridge using steel cables disguised with rope and wood so it would read as a simple one-rope bridge on camera. And with the complex build of the bridge, they couldn't do tests with the detonation and only had one shot at capturing it all collapsing. So they placed mechanical dummies in place of the actors that were built to kick and flail as they fell. Then they rigged the steel cables with electrically detonated charges, and George Lucas also suggested coating the bridge in dust to add to the realism. Once everything was set, 8 cameras were used to capture the final effect.
Action!
For all the shots of looking up at the actors, the crew built a partial elevated section of the bridge on a soundstage at L Street Studios in London. They could then tilt it to simulate the bridge falling while the actors were actually on it. For the shot of the bridge hanging, they built it on a massive wall made to look like the original cliffside. Then finally, for the 3rd continent, the 2nd unit crew flew to Florida to film the alligators chowing down on some bad guys. A funny note that I can't help but mention is that Steven Spielberg, who has a fear of heights, would not walk across the real bridge in Sri Lanka and instead drove 1.5 miles around to reach the other side, while Harrison Ford had zero hesitation and ran across at full speed.
This looks like a Universal ride.
Oh man, what a legend.
Dude, that looks so fun.
I'll be honest, I'm too claustrophobic to be a miner, but I would do that for Spielberg in a heartbeat.
¿Qué pasó?
Yeah, it feels like they actually just built the set and had some ability to actually take them on a little Johnny Knoxville cart ride.
Yeah, this feels like they just built that and maybe repurposed sections.
Made 42 years ago, and this minecart sequence still holds up today, and it was accomplished with a mixture of live action, blue screen, and the majority of it done with miniatures. The full-size track was actually one circular loop that the actors rode over and over, and to make it look different, they would just change the lighting and run through it again. But again, the majority of the sequence was done with miniatures. The crew at ILM used 7-inch scale miniature carts and figures on a 50+ foot track. Legendary visual effects supervisor Dennis Murin shot these with Go Motion using small plastic figures, with rocks made from painted aluminum foil. To film inside the miniature tunnels, the crew modified a Nikon F3 stills camera to shoot motion picture film, since it was small enough to fit into those tunnel sets. To actually achieve motion through stills, they go through the very tedious process of Go Motion, advancing just 1 frame at a time and adjusting in between, with 4 to 5 seconds of motion taking many hours to film. The guys over at Corridor Crew actually covered this in a really great way. We'll link to that in the notes below. Completely unrelated to this effect, this movie is the reason PG-13 exists. The movie was too dark for PG, but not dark enough for rated R, so it received a controversial PG rating. Because of this, Spielberg called the MPAA and suggested a middle rating, which became PG-13, with Red Dawn becoming the first film to get that rating in 1984. We have more amazing effects to look at, but before we do, let's take a look at today's sponsor, Epidemic Sound. With any edit I do, music tends to be the most hair-pulling part of the whole thing. I would genuinely rather roto all day than hunt for music, which is why I love Epidemic Sound, and specifically their Premiere extension, which lets me skip the browser and do all my searching right here, which it's really cool that you can search by the key of the song because I can get very specific in how I combine my tracks. But once I find the right one, I'll drop the song right into my project from here, and a lot of these tracks have stems so you can customize based on your needs. And this music is made by real musicians, so when you're using Epidemic music, you're supporting the human artists who made it. It's also restriction free. Epidemic owns their music outright, so I just safe list our channel in my account, and that tells YouTube that we've got an active license and the claims never come. And anything you put out while you're subscribed stays cleared for life. I'm on a plan that covers client work too, which is important because we do a lot of that. They've got a few plans depending on how many channels you're running and whether you're doing commercial stuff, so you can pick the right one for you. So if you're looking to switch or get into a music platform for your productions, Epidemic Sound has great quality, solid search filters, a must-have Premiere and Resolve extension, and real musicians, all worth taking a look at. So check the link in the description and use the code FilmRiot60 at checkout to get 60% off Epidemic Sound for 2 months, and that offer is only valid until September 30th.
This movie makes me happy.
That's just movie magic. I don't even want to know.
Damn, Michael J. Fox caked up.
When Michael J. Fox rises above the building, it feels like the car is practical and on some sort of like hydraulic auto body shop system. And then the second part of it where the car comes flying down, it feels like a miniature on fishing line on green screen.
So my guess would be for the first shot, it's on a rig just rising into frame. But then for that final fly-off shot, that's just like a miniature model that they composited in.
The image of the DeLorean lifting off and flying through the air became one of the signature effects in the Back to the Future films. But the time machine was not always going to be a car. An early version of the story used a refrigerator instead, which has nothing to do with this effect. I just think it's fun. But for this effect, they used two techniques. For the shots of Marty on top of the car, they used a full-size car mounted on a crane that was then lifted into frame. But for the car flying away, that was done with a 3-foot-long miniature DeLorean, mounted to a motion control rig to give it movement, and then filmed against a blue screen. For other parts of the film with the DeLorean, like any close-up shots of the car hovering, taking off, or landing, they used a lightweight fiberglass replica of a DeLorean that could be lifted with a specialized crane and wire rig. And a lot of these shots really do still hold up today.
Michael J. Fox again? This is the best.
That's pretty fun.
That still looks so good.
Based on the camera move and its very specific placement and the very specific placement of the actors, it just seems like they rehearsed it and then never crossed frame.
My guess would be that it's motion control, but this is 1989, so that would have to be like super early days for motion control to that level.
The dinner scene with Marty's future family required Michael J. Fox to appear in the same frame as 3 separate characters: 47-year-old Marty, his son Marty Jr., and his daughter Marlene. And in 1989, effects that place an actor opposite themselves normally required a stationary camera and a fixed dividing line between the separate takes. But they didn't want to be locked down, they wanted movement. So Industrial Light and Magic developed a new motion control camera system for the film called VistaGlide. The portable computer-controlled dolly could record a camera move during one pass, repeat the movement precisely during subsequent passes, and allow the crew to review the footage immediately. Fox could then perform each role separately while the camera followed the same path every time. So they would shoot one pass, pause for him to go through makeup to switch characters, then shoot the next pass. The takes were then combined through split-screen compositing to make all 3 characters appear together. The VistaGlide also allowed the dividing lines between the takes to move within the shot, giving the characters more freedom to cross the frame and interact. That moving split is what allowed one version of Fox to reach across the frame and pour coffee for himself while the camera continued to move. To help Fox respond in sync to the other takes of himself, he listened to pre-recorded dialogue through earpieces and performed opposite body doubles or marked positions representing where the other characters would appear. The scene was shot across multiple days with props glued down, since any shifting of them in frame would have ruined the effect.
I actually haven't seen this movie, and I'm sorry about that for so many reasons.
Obviously, he didn't jump out of the airplane without a parachute. Right?
And I know it's supposed to be Keanu Reeves, but this is Tom Cruise before he became a Scientologist, I think.
No, it looks like there's a parachute underneath his shirt. They lying.
Couldn't have brought a smaller gun to handle in midair.
Now Kith. Now Kith.
No parachute, but a big-ass gun.
The sexual tension is palpable.
It looks like he just has a hidden parachute in his wardrobe.
I think they're pulling a fast one. I think he had a parachute underneath his shirt.
It's common knowledge that Patrick Swayze really did jump out of a plane for Point Break. He was also a licensed skydiver and convinced the studio to let him perform all his own diving for the film. But that's not the crazy part. Jumping out of an airplane without a parachute is, which they did not do. To create the illusion that the characters were falling without parachutes, the stunt doubles wore them beneath their jumpsuits. These were highly specialized, tightly fitted rigs concealed underneath their costumes to be invisible to the camera. Well, kind of. You can sort of see them, but that's beside the point. For the close-up shots of Swayze and Reeves talking to each other while airborne, the actors wore a body plate under their clothes which could attach to a specialized crane rig with a telescoping arm. The actors were then supported by the rig while the camera filmed them from below against the open sky and used giant fans to help sell the effect of the freefall.
I have seen this when I was a kid.
Yes.
Did Christopher Nolan see this?
Tom Cruise saw this and was like, yeah.
Mother of God.
Wait. No way they just did this.
Feels like they did some of that.
Okay.
Okay.
For a half second there, I thought they might have just done that, but there's no way.
Mainly the shot of him spelunking, if you will, on the line to that plane almost feels like they just got a plane like on a lift, not actually flying, but in the air. And then they just shot it from far back with, of course, just a blue sky behind them. So my final answer is, you got me. You got me.
I think they are using sneaky angles and the planes on rigs.
They did that.
No way.
Yeah. This fun little airplane zipline of death was not only awesome, but 100% real. They just did this, for real, in real life, because death is just another journey, I guess. British stuntman Simon Crane was winched out of a DC-9 at 15,000 feet and slid down a physical zipline rigged to a second aircraft. But several factors made that stunt especially dangerous. Both planes had to travel at exactly 150 miles per hour, any slower and the larger plane would have stalled. Then because of the altitude, oxygen is scarce, so breathing is a task, and the wind chill made it far below 0 degrees, and because of this, he had to wear a specially designed prosthetic mask to combat the freezing temperatures. And just in case anything went wrong, he was wearing 2 concealed parachutes, so fairly low risk. When it came time for the stunt, it all started out smoothly, with a plan for the crew at the door of the receiving plane to grab the rope and pull him in. But as soon as he reached the door, a pocket of powerful turbulence knocked him off course.
I actually did bounce into the door and bounced out again, and that's when I went above and slid along the roof. I was probably within about 6 feet of the engines of the Jetstar, which was very, very dangerous.
After repeated attempts to get into the plane, the crew still couldn't reach the rope to pull him in, so once Simon Crane was clear of the plane, he let go and parachuted down. A safety skydiver then followed him down to make sure he wasn't injured and landed safely. This single sequence cost $1 million to pull off, and at the time was the most expensive aerial stunt in film history.
Get your hands off John Lithgow.
I'm gonna go with they dropped the skeleton of the helicopter down, but also they could easily have done some miniature stuff, so I don't know. Don't hurt me.
I am going to guess a mixture again. It's miniature / just dropping a very large helicopter thing a little bit. It's like that starts off with it falling and then it switches to miniature.
To pull off this helicopter crash, the crew constructed a detailed 1/6 scale miniature model of the cliff face and the helicopter, dressed to look like the full-scale helicopter used in the film. The large-scale miniature cliffside was 40 feet high, and the cliff was sculpted from construction foam and matched the geological features of the Dolomite Mountains, where the live-action mountain scenes were shot. The miniature helicopter was then dropped so it would slam into the base of the cliff, where a timed high explosive charge combined with a fireball explosive were set off on impact to give the proper scale of explosion. And then for this final shot here, with Stallone in the foreground and the explosion below, they used front projection, meaning the image was projected onto a screen and captured in camera instead of composited later. It's simple, but very effective.
Oh, touch me.
Yeah. They just did that.
This movie, watershed moment, coming of age.
Yeah, they just did that with wires and a badass camera operator.
But yeah, this is some real life stunt camera work, which is so sick.
The action in the Bourne films are iconic, especially the fight scenes, but for me, and I think a lot of people, this shot of him jumping through the window stood out in the film. And the coolest part is that they actually just did it. To accomplish this, they just had a stuntman make the jump with no safety wires, followed by a stunt camera operator who also made the jump but was rigged with safety wires to stop him from hitting the wall or falling. Then, once they had the shot, in post, they flipped the image, added wall extensions, filled out the frame with blinds, and added glass that he breaks through. And with all that in, you have one incredible shot that goes miles to ratchet up the excitement in the scene. Across all of these effects, the artist solved as much of the problem physically as possible before turning to digital tools. That meant building a suspension bridge over a real gorge, using stop-go animation for a minecart chase, or actually riding a zipline of death between two planes. And none of this footage works entirely on its own. It still needed editing, compositing, miniatures, camera tricks, and so on, but there was usually something physical at the center of the shot gluing it all together. But how many effects did you get right? Let us know below, and if you have a shot that you would like to see us break down, let us know in the comments as well. And until next time, don't forget to write, shoot, edit, repeat.
See you later. Ta-ta.